Hey guys, CJ with Elevated Systems. Cast your mind back to February 2021 when a relatively obscure company piqued my curiosity with their announcement of a fully modular, user repairable, and upgradable thin and light laptop. Now, we've seen several companies attempt this feat and stumble, but 3 months later, I decided to break a few of my own rules and become one of the early adopters, pre-ordering a first generation product from this unknown entity. Fast forward 2 months and I had in my hands my very own Framework laptop, which has been my trusty companion for the past 2 years. In that time, I've replaced a handful of defective components myself and even upgraded the laptop from its original 11th gen Intel version to a 12th gen one. And I've even got a new Ryzen mainboard on the way, which should be landing on my doorstep any day now. In just over 2 years, Framework has launched 5 iterations of their 13-inch laptop and even released a 16-inch version with removable and upgradable dedicated graphics. And yes, you guessed it, I've pre-ordered that too, so make sure you're subscribed to catch that full review when it drops. Despite my initial apprehensions, Framework has proven to be anything but a failure. Until now, that is. Inside this box, I have something that can only be described as a complete and total misfire straight from the Framework factory in Taiwan. So without further ado, let's dive in and see what we've got. Now, this unboxing might feel a bit familiar to many of you watching. Right here, I've got what appears to be a fresh off the assembly line, shiny, brand new Framework 13. Unfortunately, though this appears as a complete laptop, it's entirely non-functional. Every single element from the chassis to the motherboard to the display is either broken, defective, or just didn't quite make it through the QC process. You might be scratching your head right now thinking, why on earth would Framework send me a completely useless piece of tech, especially when their mantra is all about repairability and reusability? Well, let's dive a little deeper. Let's take a look at this laptop, for instance. The display doesn't work because of a frayed cable. If this was a customer's doing, they could potentially send it in and have the old cable removed and a new one soldered on. However, that would mean Framework having to hire a team of electronic technicians and equip a full-scale workshop. Given where they stand as a company right now, it's probably more cost-effective to just replace the entire display. But let's consider this. What if the cable damage occurred during the assembly process in the factory? Obviously, you can't ship a brand new laptop to a customer after an in-house repair like that. So even with the personnel and facilities, you'll still end up with a mountain of unusable components. Of course, recycling is an option. For parts like the aluminum chassis, this could have a significant positive environmental impact. However, for components like the motherboard and other electronics, or if the chassis is an alloy, recycling can be more costly and have more substantial negative environmental impact than manufacturing a new one. So the burning question remains, why did Framework send this to me? Well, I'm not here to fix anything or to reuse any of these components, and I'm no recycling center. Instead, I'm taking a different path. The 4th R, repurposing. I'm going to completely disassemble this laptop, lay out or null all the parts, and create a unique Shadowbox display featuring all these otherwise unusable components of a complete Framework laptop. The ultimate goal, to make this not just a one-off project, but a trend. If done right, it could even become an actual product available for anyone who's interested. So make sure to stick around to the end for more details on that. But for now, let's breathe new life into this failure of a laptop and start the disassembly. So, one of the biggest decisions in making a Shadowbox is deciding just how far to break down the product. Since this is a full laptop, to keep the final frame as small as possible, I decided to just disassemble the framework into its main components. I'm not going to desolder the CPU or other components from the main board or pull every little piece out of the chassis. Essentially, if the part is available on the framework marketplace, it gets its own place in the Shadowbox. But now, the most tedious part of shadowboxing is laying out or knowling all the parts. I have this piece of cardboard which may or may not be big enough. There's only one way to find out. Alright, what seemed like a brief time lapse to you actually spanned several weeks for me. From the start of this video until now, I underwent surgery and took a few weeks to recover, but I'm back now ready to finish this project. To give you a clearer picture of the timeline, everything you've seen so far took place on a Sunday. The very next day, Monday, I met with my surgeon and scheduled my surgery for that upcoming Thursday. So everything you're about to witness was accomplished on Tuesday and Wednesday, knowing full well that I wouldn't be able to operate power tools for some time. To begin, after several rounds of brainstorming, I found myself at a crossroad with the layout, so I decided to turn to you, my trusted viewers, for some guidance. The consensus was clear. Layout number 3 was the crowd favorite, and so it was time to set things in motion. With meticulous precision, I ensured that every component was perfectly aligned and optimally spaced. I maintained a 1-inch margin all around, resulting in a project board that measured 34 inches in width and 26 inches in height. Next, I fired up Illustrator to craft a precise template for the layout, labeling each component for clarity. This template was then printed to scale at a local print shop. While I would typically do this step by hand, giving the otherwise technical project some artistic style, a standardized template will enable anyone to replicate the Shadowbox with absolute precision. With the template at the ready, it was time to create the backboard to which the components will be permanently affixed. I cut out a 24 by 36 inch piece of 1/2-inch plywood and used some spray adhesive to attach the printed template. This gives me a solid base to attach the laptop parts. While waiting for the mounting board adhesive to dry, I headed to the lumber store to pick up wood for the frame. I realized I needed a depth of at least 2.5 inches for the frame's interior. Unfortunately, the lumber yard was out of the 5/4 by 4-inch dimensional maple I had in mind. Not wanting to waste wood or money, I opted for 5/4 by 4-inch poplar instead. To build the frame, I first cut the 4 sides to rough size. Using my table saw, I carved a 1/4 inch notch into the interior of each piece. This created a lip that's a 1/4 inch by a 1/2 inch thick, designed to hold the glass and side matting. I then precisely cut each side at a 45-degree angle. Back in the studio, I glued and clamped the frame together. Once the glue set, I drilled 3 holes into each corner and inserted 5/16 inch wood pegs, which I had cut from a longer dowel. After letting it dry, I used a Japanese saw to trim the pegs flush. Back in the garage, I began sanding the frame, starting with 180 grit and working my way down to 400. With a smooth and even surface, I finished the frame using a black tinted satin polyurethane. Before heading back to the studio, I cut strips of frosted acrylic, which will serve as the side matting for the Shadowbox. The last thing I did was cut the glass panel to size. And now we've caught up, so without further ado, let's roll up our sleeves and lock in the layout. Alright guys, all the pieces are locked and loaded. You might have spotted that I got a bit crafty using materials like scrap cardboard and foam to mount the components at varying heights, adding that little bit of dimension. This trick also throws in some dynamic shadows and depth into our Shadowbox. Now I'll admit, there were a couple of spots where my template dimensions went a tad awry, especially around the expansion card and the input cover. So it's not pixel perfect, but hey, that's DIY for you. I've tweaked the Illustrator file accordingly, and I'll talk more on that shortly, but for now, patience is key. The adhesive needs a full 24 hours to bond, so while we play the waiting game, let's jazz up the frame and prep it for the grand reveal. So first, I'm gonna carefully drop in the glass panel. All right guys, let's get ready for some DIY magic. To make sure that the glass doesn't budge an inch, I'm using these snazzy acrylic side pieces. Here's the game plan. I've stuck foam board strips onto the top and bottom inner edges of these acrylic strips. Now they'll snugly fit into the inner edge of our frame. This isn't just about holding the glass, it's also about giving our frame that sleek edge matte and the perfect lip to cradle our meticulously knolled laptop board. And here's the kicker. Instead of going with basic white foam board strip here, I've upped the ante with frosted acrylic because I've got this white battery powered LED strip that's gonna sit behind the acrylic, hopefully providing a soft, mesmerizing glow, lighting up our frame, casting dramatic shadows in our Shadowbox. Let's get it done. Okay, it's been 24 hours. All the glue should be set. Let's go ahead and finish the final assembly of the Shadowbox. All right, guys, we've crossed the finish line. That was an exhilarating ride. And I've got to say, the end result, absolutely stellar. I'm itching to get this masterpiece up on my wall just as soon as I can lift it without, popping a stitch. Now, remember when I hinted at the start that this isn't just a one-time showpiece? I'm envisioning this as a limited edition item for those who have the taste and the budget, because let's be real, quality comes at a price. Before diving into the cost, here's a fun fact. I did approach a local frame shop with the specs. Just the frame, no glass, backboard, or matting, was quoted at a whopping $460. But with some DIY magic, I whipped up the entire thing for roughly $250. That's just materials, mind you. My time and effort definitely has monetary value, and let's not forget the value of the components framework pitched in. Some can be revived, and even if not fit for a brand new Framework 13, they're gold for refurbished laptops, so there's inherent value there. The big question mark, how many unusable components Framework has in their vault? They're tight-lipped even about their sales figures, so it's a bit of a mystery. But here's the dream. If Framework opens up their marketplace to third-party sellers like me, and I can iron out the logistics, I'd be thrilled to craft and sell these beauties. So here's what I need to know. Would you buy this, and what's your price point? Drop a comment below. Who knows, Framework might be lurking in the comments, and with enough buzz, we can bring this vision to life. For the tech enthusiasts who would love to repurpose gadgets, I hope I've lit that spark. Dive into that old tech stash, find that nostalgic phone or game console, and give it a new lease on life. And if crafting a frame feels like it's a daunting effort, there's always custom options or affordable Shadowbox frames waiting for you at your local craft store. Thanks for joining me on this DIY adventure. If you enjoyed this journey as much as I did, smash that like button and consider subscribing for more tech and DIY magic. Remember, every piece of tech has a story, and sometimes it's up to you to give it a fitting tribute. Until next time, keep innovating and stay curious.